Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. A blessed Easter to each and every one. He is risen.
From an early age, Franklin Graham was immersed in the teachings of Christianity, deeply influenced by his parents' emphasis on service, compassion, and living out one's faith. However, being the son of the legendary evangelist Billy Graham presented unique challenges. The constant spotlight on his father created an unrelenting pressure for Franklin to meet the high standards of Christian virtue that were expected of him. As the child of such a renowned figure, he often found himself grappling with the weight of expectations, striving to carve out his own path while honoring the legacy of his father's remarkable ministry. This balance between personal identity and public perception would shape Franklin's journey in both faith and leadership. Early life and religious upbringing. Franklin Graham, the son of famed evangelist Billy Graham and his wife Ruth Bell Graham, was born on July 14, 1952, in Asheville, North Carolina. Raised in one of the most prominent Christian households of the 20th century, Franklin's early life was marked by an unwavering presence of faith. His father, Billy Graham, was a renowned international evangelist who preached to millions across the globe, spreading the message of salvation. His mother, Ruth, was a deeply spiritual woman whose emotional support and guidance in the home complemented her husband's public ministry. Together, they fostered a household where Christian values were central, with daily activities like Bible reading, prayer, and discussions about faith shaping their children's worldview. From a young age, Franklin was exposed to Christianity. He absorbed the teachings of his parents, particularly the emphasis on service, compassion, and living out one's faith. However, as with many children of famous parents, the weight of expectations hung heavily on Franklin. Being the son of the world-renowned Billy Graham came with its own set of challenges. The attention that his father received was unrelenting, and Franklin often felt the pressure to live up to the high standards of Christian virtue set before him. Rebellion and struggles with identity. Despite the religious foundation provided by his family, Franklin went through a rebellious phase during his teenage years. This period was a reflection of his internal struggle to forge his own identity, separate from the shadow of his famous father. As he grew older, the constant attention and expectations created a sense of resentment. Franklin sought to rebel against the rigid constraints of his upbringing. He was eager to break free from the pressures of being known as Billy Graham's son and wanted to experience life on his own terms. During this time, Franklin ignored many of the values he had been taught. He indulged in behaviors that ran counter to the Christian teachings that permeated his childhood. His actions at times led to strained relationships with his parents, who were understandably concerned for his spiritual and moral development. However, the internal conflict that arose during these years was profound. On one hand, Franklin knew the importance of faith, but on the other, he felt a strong desire to assert his own independence. This battle between the values of his upbringing and his desire to carve out a different path led to deep inner turmoil. The pain of this conflict was not just about rejecting his father's faith, it was about finding himself. Franklin struggled to reconcile the religious convictions that had been instilled in him with his own feelings of rebellion and desire for freedom. The uncertainty he faced was compounded by the pressures of adolescence, and for a while, it seemed as though his life would be defined by this tension between faith and defiance, spiritual awakening and surrender. As Franklin entered his early 20s, the rebellious phase gave way to a period of introspection. He had lived a life of defiance and felt the emptiness that often accompanies a life without purpose. Despite his outward resistance to the faith, Franklin began to feel an undeniable yearning for something deeper. He was troubled by the fleeting nature of his pursuits, realizing that nothing he tried could fill the void he was experiencing. It was during this time of reflection that Franklin had a profound spiritual awakening. The realization that he had been chasing after things that ultimately left him unfulfilled brought him to a crossroads. Franklin recognized that the life he had been leading, one of rebellion and self-reliance, was not bringing him the peace and fulfillment that his heart longed for. He began to see the truth in the teachings of his parents and felt an overwhelming desire to re-establish a relationship with God. The decision to surrender his life to Christ was not made lightly. It was a turning point that changed the course of Franklin's life. This was not just an emotional decision. It was a profound, permanent commitment to live for something greater than himself. Franklin's decision to follow Christ was one that reshaped his sense of purpose and direction. He would no longer live in rebellion against the very faith that had been a part of him since birth. Embracing the faith and ministry. Franklin's renewed commitment to Christ ignited a deep passion for ministry. He found himself inspired by his father's legacy, particularly the way Billy Graham had spent his life preaching the gospel to millions. Franklin was motivated by the desire to share the message of hope and salvation that had transformed his own life. This newfound sense of purpose led Franklin to immerse himself in ministry and humanitarian efforts. His calling was no longer just about preaching. It was about making a tangible difference in the lives of people around the world. Franklin understood the importance of providing not only spiritual nourishment, but also physical support to those in need. His desire to serve others became a central part of his life's mission. One of the key turning points in Franklin's life was his involvement with Samaritan's Purse, a global humanitarian organization. Founded by Bob Pierce in 1970, Samaritan's Purse sought to show the love of Christ through practical acts of service, particularly in times of disaster. Franklin joined the organization in 1974, and it quickly became a defining aspect of his ministry. Humanitarian work and leadership at Samaritan's Purse. Franklin's work with Samaritan's Purse provided him with first-hand exposure to the devastating impact of disasters and poverty around the world. His experiences in the field opened his eyes to the deep suffering of people in need. As he witnessed the destruction caused by natural disasters and the hardships faced by vulnerable communities, Franklin's commitment to humanitarian work grew stronger. He understood that serving others was not just a calling, it was a way to live out his faith in a tangible, meaningful way. In 1979, Franklin Graham became the president and CEO of Samaritan's Purse, succeeding Bob Pierce. Under Franklin's leadership, the organization expanded its scope and effectiveness, growing from a small operation to an international force in disaster relief, poverty alleviation, and medical aid. Franklin's leadership was marked by his focus on meeting both the physical and spiritual needs of those he served. He believed that true compassion involved addressing not only the immediate needs of people, but also their spiritual well-being. Franklin's leadership was instrumental in ensuring that Samaritan's Purse was able to respond quickly and effectively to disasters around the world. The organization became known for its rapid response to natural disasters such as hurricanes, earthquakes, and tsunamis. Franklin personally traveled to many disaster-stricken areas to assess the situation, offer support, and rally volunteers. He made it a priority to ensure that disaster relief efforts were comprehensive, providing food, water, shelter, and medical care to those in need. Global impact of Samaritan's Purse. One of the most notable examples of Samaritan's Purse's global impact occurred after the devastating 2010 earthquake in Haiti. The earthquake caused widespread destruction, leaving hundreds of thousands of people homeless and in desperate need of aid. Samaritan's Purse was one of the first organizations to respond. providing emergency relief and setting up medical field hospitals to treat the injured. Franklin himself traveled to Haiti to witness the devastation firsthand and offer his support to the relief efforts. In addition to short-term disaster relief, Samaritan's Purse also focused on long-term rehabilitation. The organization worked to rebuild communities, providing resources to help people get back on their feet. Projects included rebuilding homes, installing clean water systems, and providing job training to help people become financially independent. Franklin's emphasis on holistic treatment, which addressed both immediate needs and long-term sustainability, set Samaritan's Purse apart from other humanitarian organizations. Franklin's work in places like Haiti, as well as his efforts to bring medical care to areas ravaged by war and disease, demonstrated his dedication to both physical and spiritual healing. In particular, the organization's mobile medical units were instrumental in providing care to people affected by crises such as the Ebola epidemic in West Africa. Samaritan's Purse played a crucial role in combating the outbreak, with Franklin personally overseeing the organization's response. Evangelistic work and Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. As Franklin continued to expand his humanitarian efforts, his role as a Christian evangelist also grew. In 2000, he became the president and CEO of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, continuing his father's legacy of spreading the gospel worldwide. Like his father, Franklin was committed to preaching the message of salvation through Jesus Christ. But he also recognized the need to address contemporary social issues. Under his leadership, the BGEA held numerous evangelistic events, reaching millions of people in stadiums and arenas around the world. Franklin's evangelistic festivals became a central part of his ministry. These large events brought together people from all walks of life to hear the gospel and experience the transformative power of faith. The festivals were characterized by powerful preaching, music, and personal testimonies of faith. Franklin's preaching style was direct and impassioned, focused on salvation through repentance and a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. In addition to the traditional gatherings, Franklin utilized modern technology to reach a global audience. The advent of live streaming and social media allowed the message of the gospel to reach people who were unable to attend in person. This adaptation of Franklin's evangelistic efforts has allowed him to engage with younger generations and those who might not typically attend church services. A rebellious youth and personal struggles. Growing up in a family that was synonymous with Christian faith and evangelical work, Franklin Graham's early life seemed to be scripted for greatness. His father, Billy Graham, was a towering figure in Christian evangelism, holding crusades across the globe and preaching to millions, while his mother, Ruth Bell Graham, provided a nurturing, prayer-filled home that emphasized strong Christian values. However, despite this nurturing environment, Franklin's adolescence was far from smooth. He struggled with the heavy expectations that came with being the son of one of the world's most famous Christian figures. As a teenager, Franklin entered a phase of rebellion, seeking freedom from the stifling confines of his father's legacy. He was drawn to a lifestyle that contradicted the teachings of his family, engaging in behaviors that went against the Christian values he had been raised with. The pressure to meet everyone's expectations while simultaneously forging his own identity led to an inner turmoil that would stay with him throughout his early years. While his parents preached the importance of living a life of faith and service, Franklin sought to explore the world on his own terms. He found himself at odds with the very principles that had been instilled in him from childhood. However, this period of rebellion wasn't without its transformative impact. Franklin's spiritual journey didn't follow a linear path. It was filled with moments of self-reflection and personal conflict. The allure of worldly pleasures and experiences left him feeling empty, and as he grew older, the question of life's true purpose began to loom over him. In his early 20s, Franklin experienced a deep spiritual awakening that would forever alter the course of his life. This moment of transformation was not just a fleeting emotional decision, it was a deep commitment to Christ that marked a permanent shift in his identity and life goals. A commitment to Christ and humanitarian service. After his spiritual awakening, Franklin Graham made the life-altering decision to dedicate himself to Christ. This commitment, he realized, was not simply about repentance, but about a complete overhaul of his personal goals and aspirations. As he embraced Christianity, he felt called to follow in his father's footsteps in spreading the gospel to the world. However, Franklin's journey was not merely about preaching, but also about serving those in need. This sense of service led him to become deeply involved with Samaritan's Purse, a Christian humanitarian organization founded by Bob Pierce in 1970. Samaritan's Purse's mission was clear: to provide disaster relief and humanitarian aid while spreading the message of Christ's love. Franklin's involvement with the organization marked the beginning of a long and impactful chapter in his life. It was through Samaritan's Purse that Franklin discovered his passion for global humanitarian work. His experiences on the front lines of disaster relief in various parts of the world, including war-torn regions, natural disaster sites, and poverty-stricken communities, further cemented his commitment to helping the vulnerable. In 1979, Franklin became the president and CEO of Samaritan's Purse, taking over from Bob Pierce, who had set the organization's foundation. Under Franklin's leadership, the organization experienced significant growth, both in scope and in the variety of projects it took on. The focus was always on providing both material and spiritual support to those in need. Whether it was providing food, shelter, medical care, or education, Franklin emphasized the importance of addressing both the physical and spiritual needs of people affected by disasters. Global impact: Samaritan's Purse in crisis zones. Franklin Graham's leadership was particularly tested during some of the world's most severe crises. His humanitarian work reached a global audience as Samaritan's Purse responded to some of the worst natural disasters and humanitarian emergencies in modern history. One such disaster occurred in 2010 when a massive earthquake devastated Haiti. The earthquake, which killed over 230,000 people and left millions displaced, became one of the most tragic events in recent history. Samaritan's Purse quickly mobilized, providing emergency relief such as food, clean water, and medical care to those in need. Franklin's hands-on involvement was evident during this time. He personally traveled to Haiti to assess the situation, offer moral support to the relief workers, and help ensure the efficient distribution of resources. His leadership during this disaster and subsequent relief efforts were a testament to his commitment to helping others and his desire to be a beacon of hope in the midst of devastation. In addition to short-term disaster relief, Samaritan's Purse focused on long-term rehabilitation, working to rebuild communities, restore infrastructure, and help families get back on their feet. Through projects like building schools, setting up clean water systems, and offering job training programs, Franklin's humanitarian efforts went beyond just addressing immediate needs. They aimed at fostering lasting change. Another crisis that tested Franklin's resolve came in 2014 during the Ebola epidemic in West Africa. As the virus spread rapidly across Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, Franklin was instrumental in coordinating Samaritan's Purse's response to the crisis. The organization set up treatment facilities to provide care for those infected with the virus, while Franklin personally oversaw the deployment of medical staff and resources to the affected regions. His leadership during this crisis was nothing short of heroic, as he worked tirelessly to save lives and support the affected communities. His ability to coordinate with local governments and health organizations proved crucial in containing the virus and providing much-needed medical care. Operation Christmas Child, bringing hope to children. Another one of Franklin Graham's signature humanitarian projects is Operation Christmas Child, a program that aims to bring joy and hope to children in need by sending them shoeboxes filled with gifts. This initiative began in 1993, and under Franklin's leadership, it has grown into one of the largest outreach programs in the world. The boxes, filled with toys, school supplies, and hygiene items, are sent to children in over 100 countries. Each shoebox is a symbol of love, care, and the hope that comes with knowing they are not forgotten. Through Operation Christmas Child, Franklin has not only brought joy to millions of children, but also provided opportunities for them to hear the gospel. The program includes follow-up activities that encourage children to learn about Christ and the importance of faith. This long-lasting impact is something that Franklin has always emphasized. While the gifts provide immediate relief, the message of the gospel offers eternal hope. The program also brings together communities, churches, and individuals who pack the boxes, creating a worldwide movement of kindness and compassion during the Christmas season. Controversies and public scrutiny. Despite his humanitarian achievements, Franklin Graham's life and work have not been without controversy. As a prominent figure in both the evangelical community and the wider public sphere, Franklin has been a subject of both admiration and criticism. His outspoken views on various social and political issues have sparked heated debates, particularly in today's increasingly polarized society. While many see him as a strong defender of biblical truths, others accuse him of being too politically engaged and divisive. One of the most significant controversies came in 2016 when Franklin publicly supported Donald Trump in his bid for the presidency. This endorsement was met with mixed reactions, especially among evangelical communities. Some saw it as a necessary alignment with a candidate who supported Christian values, while others felt it betrayed the principles of Christian leadership. This event highlighted the complexities of balancing religious convictions with political activism, a challenge that Franklin has faced throughout his life. His views on issues such as LGBT rights, immigration, and traditional marriage have also drawn criticism from progressive groups who accuse him of bigotry and intolerance. Franklin, however, has consistently defended his positions by citing scripture and emphasizing his commitment to what he believes is biblical truth. His staunch views have only intensified the public scrutiny of him, but he remains steadfast in his beliefs, often responding to criticism by affirming his faith and commitment to the gospel. Personal loss and legacy. Beyond the public controversies and humanitarian work, Franklin Graham's personal life has also been marked by profound loss. In 2007, his mother, Ruth Bell Graham, passed away after a long illness. Ruth had been a constant source of support for Franklin and his siblings, offering wisdom, faith, and encouragement. Her passing was a deeply emotional experience for Franklin, who often spoke of how her unwavering faith and kindness shaped his own beliefs. Her loss prompted him to reaffirm his commitment to God and to the principles she had instilled in him. The loss of his father, Billy Graham, in 2018 was another pivotal moment in Franklin's life. Billy Graham, a towering figure in Christianity and global evangelism, had been a mentor, role model, and spiritual leader to Franklin. His death marked the end of an era for the Graham family and the evangelical movement at large. Franklin, who had always been deeply influenced by his father's teachings on humility, honesty, and devotion, now found himself at the helm of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, tasked with continuing his father's legacy. The death of both his parents left Franklin grieving, yet it also reaffirmed his resolve to carry on their work. He continues to lead the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, ensuring that the values his parents stood for, evangelism, service, and faith, remain at the core of the organization's mission. Conclusion: a life of faith, service, and legacy. Franklin Graham's life has been a remarkable journey defined by faith, service, and leadership. From his early struggles with rebellion to his transformative spiritual awakening, Franklin has dedicated his life to spreading the gospel and serving others. Through his work with Samaritan's Purse, Operation Christmas Child, and his father's legacy, Franklin has shown that helping others is not just about giving material aid, but also about offering hope, compassion, and the message of Christ's love. Though his life has been marked by personal loss, public controversy, and the challenges of leadership, Franklin Graham remains unwavering in his faith and commitment to serving others. His story is a testament to the power of redemption, the importance of family, and the enduring impact of faith in the face of adversity.